So here with us today, we're inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room. I'm here with Jerry Jason. He is the lead flight director of ATV-3. Welcome, Jerry. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
I
much.
think I
Glad to be
actually
here.
just pulled you out of a meeting with ATV-3, correct?
Yeah, we're getting ready
So,
to launch here in
so
just a couple
lots,
days.
lots to talk about.
Yes.
First, I want to just talk a little about you. So tell me, how long have you been here at NASA?
I've been at NASA since 1996, so about 17 years now. I started out as a space shuttle flight controller, became a group lead over there, and then I've been a flight director for about the last 4 years on the space station side.
Great. And tell me some of your experience. How did you get to flight director?
I started out in what is called the MAX group, which is mechanical maintenance, arm and crew systems on the space shuttle side. And on the space shuttle side, that was responsible for the auxiliary power units, the landing gear, some of the crew systems folks, the escape systems, parachutes, etc. Got certified fully and worked several missions, about 2025 on the shuttle side, worked some ascent entry. And then about 4 years ago, I got selected as a flight director, and I've been working station since then. My biggest assignment was part of ATV was working increment 2324.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, so you are the lead flight director for the automated transfer vehicle that we are hoping to send up soon. I know that there was a delay, and we're going to get into that. But just first tell me what is your role specifically with regards to that cargo ship?
Okay, ATV is really a trilateral vehicle. It's built by the European Space Agency. It's launched out of French Guiana. Hopefully here in the next couple days. But the trilateral portion of it is we actually dock to the Russian segment, so the vehicle actually approaches from the back side and docks to the SMF docking port. So a lot of the work that we have to do is on a trilateral nature. So my responsibilities overall are for making sure that the space station is ready to receive ATV. So that's the coordination that I've been primarily working with, and I work with the flight directors at the ATV-CC, which is in Toulouse, France, and I also work with the SRP, which is the Russian flight director at the MCC Moscow, and make sure we're all ready to go.
Okay, so you will actually be here for that launch?
I'll be here for the launch Thursday night.
Okay.
And then we'll be docking on the 28th, and I'll be the on-console flight director for that as well.
Great. So let's talk about the delay.
Okay.
So I know that it was originally set to launch on March 9th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So what happened?
Going through the evaluation of the cargo that was stowed in ATV, when we close out the vehicle, they go ahead and they take pictures of it, and they did an evaluation, and they realized that some of the buckles, the way that they'd been fastened, wasn't appropriate. So there was a concern that once you launch the vehicle, that the ascent loads with the vibrations and the G-force, that some of that cargo may become loose, and you don't want cargo whipping around the vehicle when it's going into space. Therefore, the ESA decided that it was prudent to go ahead and go back in, roll the vehicle back, take the fairings off, re-access the vehicle, and resecure that cargo, which they've done.
Okay. So it's not quite like not packing your suitcase properly and that delaying your flight, but so a bit more to do with that. Did they have to unpack everything and then put things back, or how did
No,
they?
yeah, it's just a matter of resecuring it. They did smooth some of the cargo bags around. There are different sizes of bags that are carrying up our cargo. They moved some of those around in different slots to get a little more tension on the buckles. And they've also went ahead and taped some of the buckles they were a little bit more concerned about that may come loose. So they have done a good job of making sure that we're ready to go here in the next couple
we
days.
don't need an exploding suitcase in space. So thank you. So now let's talk some about the launch. Now I know countdown begins at 10 hours, and then we have launch. So can you tell me about what happens next?
For the most part, as we get ready to launch the vehicle, the ATV Control Center is really going to be responsible for that. And once again, that's in Toulouse, France. They'll be monitoring the vehicle as it gets ready to launch, and then once it launches, it has an orbit that is basically elliptical, and then about 45 minutes later, they actually do a reignition of the second stage, which is actually unique for a vehicle. Usually, you don't reignite at second stage, and that'll circularize the orbit, and then it's gradually going to be approaching station. We'll be in a little bit of a lower orbit, so we'll be going a little bit faster, so we'll be actually catching up to station. And then as we get closer to the actual docking day, we're going to do several maneuvers that'll bring us into the docking.
Okay, so 5 days or 5.5 days
Which is actually a
before it's
little.
docking. And is that quick or?
That's actually quicker than we have done in the past for ATV, and the original launch had about an 8-day phasing. So we're doing it a little bit faster. So that means we're just going to be doing our burns a little bit sooner, and we'll be uh, staying in a lower orbit a little bit longer. So we're actually moving faster than the station is.
Okay. And so let's talk about the cargo. What's in there?
There's lots of cargo. There's quite a bit of U.S. Cargo. We have, of course, you have food supplies. You have crew return items. You have crew personal preference items. You have a lot of replacement pieces for the International Space Station. We're taking up a bunch of regenerative eclipse equipment. They're called RFTAs, which are used for recycling our water on board the station.
Yeah, we just replaced one yesterday.
So, um, but part of it is not only are we taking all that cargo off, but we're going to be putting a lot of stuff into the vehicle as far as trash items that we no longer need too. So, overall, there's about 2,200 kilograms of dry cargo we're transferring up, and we're going to fill that back up pretty much when we leave. We're also bringing up some oxygen, some air, and then some water, and we also provide propellant, oxidizer, as well, that goes into the Russian segment. We pump that in directly. So it supplies us with lots of cargo, lots of air, food, and we also get propellant out of it.
So about 7.2 tons of cargo is supposedly going up, right? And very critical items. We have air and water and also things like the recycle filter assembly, which is used to recycle that water, and that's pretty important there on the space station.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
So let's go to docking. We said 5.5 days before it actually docks, and so when it does come up there, is that automated? The rendezvous and docking. How is the approach?
Yeah, and as you pointed out before, ATV is autonomous transfer vehicle, so most of it is automated. ATV CC has a lot to do with monitoring the progress of the vehicle. They do uplink certain parameters as we do the approach to make sure that uh, ATV is getting all the data it needs. But for the final portion of it, it's pretty much all ATV in communication with the space station. So the ATV has what's called a proxy link between itself and the space station, specifically the Russian segment. So they're always comparing data of where ATV is relative to space station. It also uses a laser targeting system as we get closer into to make sure that we're matching up exactly with the docking port. Of course, you have ATV-CC on the ground monitoring ATV performance. You have MCC Moscow monitoring the Russian segment performance. You have Houston, we're watching the U.S. segment, but you also have the crew involved monitoring to make sure the ATV approach is
Now, I know
good.
it's going to be docking to the aft port of this Zvezda, so you're not where there's not going to be a window where they can actually look and see the approaching vehicle. Is that correct?
That's correct,
And
but
so, how will they monitor its arrival?
we actually have cameras that look out the back of the aft port, and it's actually displayed on a monitor. So the crew has several things that they get. They have data from the proximity sensors and the course system that are displaying the range and range rate of the system, but they also have the video camera as well, and they actually have a overlay that they put on the monitor that shows the approach corridor that ATV is supposed to be in. And if they get outside that approach corridor, if ATV hasn't already automatically retreated or escaped, they have the capability to do that on board as well.
Okay, thank you. So, and do you know exactly which crew members are going to be involved in
Yes.
or is it all of them, or?
No, there's specifically two crew members that are trained for that, and that's
Okay.
Kuipers and Koryenko are going to be our prime crew members for monitoring the ATV approach. They actually get all their training way before we launched.
Okay, yeah, we actually had a picture just up now of the pair who will be actually doing the monitoring of the approach of ATV-3. So again, I pulled you out of a meeting. Anything juicy to tell us? Nothing. Nominal.
Nah, we're just monitoring.
Okay.
I think you probably already talked about there's been a little bit of issue with the 2 alpha BGA, and we're kind of monitoring that to make sure that is an issue. For ATV approach, because of um, using the GPS that it uses between the two vehicles, um, we want to make sure that the arrays are in very specific positions. So if we're having a problem with the BGA, we want to make sure that we have a plan in place. So we spent a lot of time discussing that, doing what we normally do. We do a lot of what-ifing as part of mission operations, saying, okay, if it fails, what do we want to do with the array and the interim approach?
Okay, great. And so you'll be on console Thursday night,
I'll be on console
back here
Thursday
for a
night.
long night. So you have to do a little sleep shifting. How much longer after launch that do you stay here to monitor?
Yeah, I'll stay here until we get the second stage reignited and get the orbit circularized, and
Okay,
then we'll be in a good configuration.
great. A good long late night for you.
Lots.
Thank you so much for coming by and talking with us. And so it was juicy enough. We're all good.
Yes, we're all good, ready to go for Thursday.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's get back to the crew aboard the International Space Station. Thank you.